You are listening to PowerScore's Law Practices podcast series. Today's topic is the practice of entertainment law. On the program, you will hear from Maggie Pisacani, an entertainment lawyer with Frankfurt, Kernet, Klein & Sells, Larry Zerner, owner of the law office of Larry Zerner, and Ken Basin, an entertainment lawyer at Greenberg Glusker. Entertainment law covers a variety of topics in the world of television, fashion, movies, sports, and any other entertainment product. Entertainment attorneys also deal with accounting, contracts, and trademark issues. Our first guest, Maggie Pisacani, describes what she believes is the best definition of entertainment law.
I think entertainment law is often used as an umbrella term to mean any number of different things. I mean, entertainment law can mean music, it can mean labor law relations, especially in connection with sports teams. Oftentimes, you can say you're an entertainment lawyer when you really are doing a lot of labor and union issues in sports. I mean, and then it can also mean Broadway, fashion, television, movies, and basically it covers all facets of making any sort of entertaining type of product. So when you're talking about a movie, you're talking about everything from negotiating the actor, director, writer deals, down to location releases, up to negotiating the distribution of the movie once it's a finished product. So it really covers a vast array of topics, and so it really is kind of a catch-all phrase. But I think people most commonly associate it with kind of the big three of TV, movies, and music.
Larry Basin also describes what entertainment law is and offers one big-name celebrity, Charlie Sheen, as a great example of entertainment lawyers at work.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that fit into entertainment law, but, I mean, basically, I mean, there's an overall, which is just legal issues involving the entertainment industry, whether that's anything from the, making a record deal to labor issues dealing with the SAG or AFTRA, or sometimes just if you handle a real estate deal for an actor, that's considered entertainment law. But, typically it's contracts and litigation involving the movie and music industry is probably the, copyright issues, trademark issues, right of publicity issues, and contractual issues, like you're seeing with Charlie Sheen, which is not just a entertainment contract.
Our third guest, Ken Basin, says the entertainment law industry is unique and offers lots of personalities.
The industry is sort of unique unto it's a unique kind of context and set of issues and personalities. So much of what you have to kind of do and be sensitive to in entertainment practice, particularly on the transactional side, isn't just about the kind of abstract legal issues, but the context. How does talent think, and what sort of things really concern them? What are the real goals and interests of the parties? What is a studio worried about at the end of the day? What is an actor worried about at the end of the day? And how you get to those. And you still have to be sensitive to the legal issues. You still have to be careful and thorough, and any other quality that you would want in a lawyer generally. But I think for entertainment, it's always really important to stay grounded in the business context of what's going on.
Ken goes on to say that as an up-and-coming entertainment lawyer, you need to focus on two kinds of academics: intellectual property and contracts.
Definitely a focus on, as I said, on two sides, on intellectual property issues, copyrights and trademarks in particular. I mean, in entertainment contracts and in entertainment disputes, so often the most important issue is who owns the rights. And everything comes down to you want to either own the rights or have a lien on the rights or be secured in the rights. Just the copyrights, people describe it as a copyright-intensive industry. It drives everything. The value ultimately is in the copyrights. So you need to understand how copyrights work, how the individual components of copyright rights can be kind of spliced up and divvied out to multiple parties. And then sort of related to that are the contract issues, how to draft a contract that is that is clear, unambiguous, and going to hold up to scrutiny if it's ever the subject of a dispute.
Maggie says that deciding what type of practice within the entertainment law world you would like to partake in can be difficult. She says to build experience in the entertainment industry and learn as much as you can.
Well, I think there are a couple things. One, because it is so broad, to really figure out what aspect of the industry is most appealing to them, since there is just so many different things one can do within entertainment. When they say, I want to be an entertainment lawyer, what does that mean? Because negotiating or representing talent like actors is a very, very different practice than representing producers. And so trying to get a sense of what they think they would enjoy and what would cater to their strengths is very important. Of course, it's very hard to do that without experience. And I think one of the biggest issues in entertainment, it's the chicken or the egg conundrum, which is it's hard to get entertainment experience without entertainment experience on your resume. How do you get experience without experience? So I would say one of the biggest things law students can do is really try and build up their resume from day one to show they have a very active interest in quote-unquote entertainment, and that will simultaneously help them kind of figure out which areas are of most interest to them. So that's anything from joining, as little as joining their sports and entertainment law societies in law school, to figuring out if maybe there's a volunteer lawyer for the arts clinic, certainly taking classes on copyright, and if there are any specific classes that are on entertainment, any element of entertainment, whether it's theater law, film, etc. And then also being more proactive and seeing if there's actually any opportunities for internships. Well, otherwise, while they're actually in school, I think is great. I mean, when you're in a big city, I think there are a lot more of those opportunities. It can even be something like volunteering for one of the guilds, Writers Guild, Screen Actors Guild, Directors Guild, just to kind of get your foot in the door, and you never know what opportunities will come from that. And then if you're in a smaller town, I mean, again, maybe it's volunteering at the local theater company, or if a film is shooting, seeing if there are some opportunities to do some PAing on that film. I mean, anything to really show your interest, because I think there's a real barrier to entry in the industry, and so anything you can do to differentiate oneself and really show that you're not just saying you have an interest, you actually really do, that's borne out by your resume and things that you've done, I think can only help.
Larry agrees. He suggests that students learn as much as they can about the industry, and even reading Variety and Hollywood Reporter can do just that.
It would help if they were learning as much as they can about the industry, so they can talk intelligently about what's going on. So whether that's at least looking at Variety or the Hollywood Reporter online, you can do that. You can follow now a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of entertainment lawyers on Twitter who link to interesting, like I have a Twitter account at Zerner Law, and I link to interesting entertainment stories. And so they can see where the issues are. There's a lot of cutting-edge issues in entertainment law, especially dealing with internet rights as that expands. There's going to be a lot of growth in that area. I think so. That's something that they should be looking at, knowing what the legal issues are involved in the internet and distribution of material over the internet.
Ken goes on to say that the entertainment law industry is extremely relationship-based, and it is all about knowing who to call.
I mean, obviously to the extent that there are entertainment law-centric organizations, this is sort of a supplement to my answer to the previous question you asked. What people really need to know about the entertainment industry is that it's an extremely relationship-intensive industry. It really is vitally important to kind of know people know the players. It's not exclusive in the way that you think about, like, well, I need to know somebody to get into a club, but to do business, you need to know who to call to do your business with, and to get access to the jobs, because there are, frankly, sort of fewer entertainment law jobs than there are people who want them. It's really important to know what firms are involved, what companies are involved, who the people are at those firms, and kind of build personal relationships with those individuals so you can really kind of incorporate yourself into what they're doing. So in terms of what organizations to work with in law school, anything that will expose you to actual lawyers and business people in the entertainment industry, also, I mean, the worlds are very separate for motion picture television, music, and sports. Those three, I mean, the issues are kind of similar, but it's definitely a different set of players and a different set of personalities. So to the extent that people know which of those three interest them, to look for organizations that are very specifically oriented to those industries.
Now, for students that are wanting to break into entertainment law, Maggie says it's a hard industry to get into, but you have to put your name out there and find any way you can to get into a firm with an entertainment law practice.
Well, I think it seems to me that there's two different schools of thought on who to hire, and I know my firm kind of struggles with this. One school of thought is they don't really want to hire students straight out of law school. They want to hire students with a couple years of experience at a quote-unquote big law firm or some sort of more traditional law firm to train law students into lawyers. So you have a couple years under your belt in terms of just in the workplace, because a lot of students go straight through from college, and so the jobs they hold after law school will be their first kind of continuing legal and job experience. So in that regard, I would say that is certainly a legitimate path, and that's certainly the path that I took. I worked at Cravath for several years before transitioning into entertainment law. And so that way you get a couple years under your belt, especially if there aren't as many opportunities in entertainment law. I would then go to a firm and just try and continue to keep up as many activities as you can in the entertainment field, which is much easier said than done when you're working, 70 hours a week and what have you. But in any event, when you're actually in the real world, you can also maybe join bar associations that focus on arts and entertainment. And through that, you would be surprised how many people you can meet and opportunities that arise. So that's the more traditional route you can take. And then the other one is really just to try and get a job straight out of law school at an entertainment firm, which is definitely, I think, more difficult. And there's more an element of chance involved in that, because oftentimes, again, speaking from experience of the two entertainment firms I worked at, they don't really advertise the positions. It's more word of mouth. So anything law students can do to kind of broaden their network and really get out there, whether it's through the internships, whether it's through going to mixers or figuring out what local law association chapters there are, and really going there, I think can also help create opportunities to find out what openings there are and how they can figure out if they fit them. And also to think outside the box. If they really want to go straight into entertainment out of law school, there may not be a job at an entertainment firm that is open, because again, it's a relatively small industry and there's a very limited number of jobs, and not every firm wants to hire right out of law school. But then think about, okay, what other things can I do? Maybe I'm not going to make as much money, but maybe there's opportunities, like I mentioned before, at the different guilds, like at the Screen Actors Guild. Maybe there's an opportunity to even intern there for a period of time after school. Maybe some thinking more about like the broadcast networks. Maybe one of the cable networks has an internship program that I could look to. I mean, all those are ways to kind of get your foot in the door. You can do both while you're in school and afterwards if you aren't finding a right fit.
And for the skills needed to succeed, Larry says that negotiating is a key talent that all entertainment lawyers need.
I would say, besides knowing the law, it helps. A lot of what entertainment lawyers do is negotiate. Either you're negotiating, if you're a transactional lawyer, entertainment law really goes into two different camps. There's transactional lawyers who basically just do the contracts, and there are litigators. I happen to do a little of both, but in both sides, you really have to know about negotiation. And so I would broaden, besides the legal knowledge, I would get some books about negotiation. There's plenty of books like Getting to Yes or How to Negotiate. It really will help as you go through to know how to get what your client wants. That's a lot of what I do, is figure out what the client wants and figure out how to get there. And a lot of that is knowing, well, what does the other side want or don't want, and by playing on that helps to become a better lawyer, because that's really what it is. It's not about very few cases, very, very few cases are about, well, we're going to sue and we'll find out and have a jury decide this case a year down the road. It's about how can you do a really effective entertainment lawyer is about getting what you want without having to file a lawsuit or going through years of litigation and the expense and uncertainty of that. That would be good advice for any lawyer is to learn about negotiation skills and how that works.
And for his final piece of advice to interested lawyers or law students, Ken says that entertainment law is still law, even past all the glitz and glamour.
I think that I would say it's still law. I think people sometimes look at entertainment law like it's going to have a kind of sheen and glamour to it that's unique, and certainly the perks are nicer than other areas. It's nice to get to go to a premiere from time to time. It's nice to get to go to industry events, but it's still law, and people I think shouldn't confuse entertainment law with entertainment business, with the kind of creative side of the entertainment industry. I think the people who get into entertainment law and aren't as satisfied with it sort of got into it because they viewed it as kind of a doorway to some other element of the entertainment industry. I think entertainment law is very interesting and fulfilling in its own right, and I can't imagine myself practicing in any other area. But you do need to remember that you're still a lawyer. That's the value that you bring. That's what you can really kind of enhance for your clients and for the deals you're involved in, or the disputes that you're involved in. And that's what you can really bring to the table, and not to just view it as a means to some other end.
Maggie says it isn't always an easy path to entertainment law, but when you're in, it's much easier to get a better look around.
In terms of what I said before is the best suggestions I can get, and just to say that it definitely is not an easy path. I think it's one of those things that becomes, once you're in it, it's much easier to survey the landscape and figure out where you might fit in best and to move laterally and otherwise. But getting that first job, I think, is one of the most difficult things. So people should just be persistent and really try and get as much information as possible. Again, thinking outside of the box, not just looking at law firms, but looking at all the different players within the industry that might be of interest to them, and figuring out, and offering their services for free as internships or what have you, to, again, make as many connections as you can, learn as much as you can about the area of entertainment law you think is of interest to you, because you may just find it's not, ultimately. I mean, by way of example, the area of entertainment law that I thought would be of most interest to me, it's still interesting, but I find that my focus and my strengths are better served in other areas, and that's something I wouldn't have known had I not experienced that. Because being told about a type of practice is very different from actually doing it. And so I think that can just help as much experience as students can get earlier on, or as much exposure will just, I think, help them figure that out and gain access to that.
And finally, Larry says that law school may not prepare you specifically for entertainment law, so to research and learn as much as you can on your own.
School will not prepare you to be an entertainment lawyer. They just don't have the resources, even the top level. Well, I mean, even the ones in LA, which have entertainment divisions, or you can take some entertainment classes, but you can't really learn how to be an entertainment lawyer. You can get a sort of grasp about some areas of law and law school, but to really be an entertainment lawyer, you really got to learn in an entertainment law firm. And so you really got to plan on that you're going to try and get a job at an entertainment law firm, and that's the first goal. You're just not going to come out there and be an entertainment lawyer. You go, to learn the ins and outs of these contracts. No one's going to be able to teach you that in law school. You got to, you got to watch people negotiate a few dozen of them before you understand the ins and outs of what's being done and why.
Maggie says it isn't always an easy path to entertainment law, but when you're in, it's much easier to get a better look around.